Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to episode 2 of Dear Rachel, a la Dear Abby. What is a good name for this series? I don't know. I haven't thought of one. Hopefully last week's was well received. I haven't posted it yet as I'm filming this, so I don't actually know, but fingers crossed you guys liked it because we're doing another one. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I started this sort of sit down and chat, true Rachel Rambles series, podcast, not a podcast because I'm a YouTuber. God, I can't think of a quippy name for anything. Series where I just sit down and chat with you guys, give you big sisterly advice about problems that you're having that I can relate to or that I've lived through, stuff that maybe I wish I had heard when I was going through them. I did one about being a stay-at-home mom and the trials and tribulations and the hard parts that no one thinks about. And then last week I talked to you guys about friendship breakups. So yeah, and by the way, if you ever have anything that you have want advice on or want me to talk about, always leave it in the comments down below. I read every single comment and I will be looking out for them. So that being said, let's talk about today's. Today's prompt is how to know what path to take in life. I'm about to be 22 and I feel like I'm behind on everything. Oh, I wish I was about to be 22. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I really don't. But, to be 21. I know this feeling so well. God, this could have been written by me 10 years ago. So just FYI, I'm 32. So I've got a little over 10 years of experience on this person. And the first thing that I'll say that I know won't mean anything to you, but God, it's true. This is like the paradox of life and of youth, but you are so young. I know when you're 21, you don't feel that young. You feel like you're old. You're finally an adult. You have, to make adult decisions for the first time, and you're responsible for your life in a way that you haven't been in so long. And, when you're really young, like when you're a teenager, everything feels so important and so prescient. And then, you get older and you realize that, you were so dumb and young when you were a teenager, and that now is when you're an adult and like everything matters. And I'm sure like when I'm 42, I'll be looking back at myself and saying the same thing to myself now, but I can tell you that you are so young and you're at a wonderfully delicious part of life where you don't have to have anything figured out or everything figured out, especially. And by the way, perhaps you do figure it all out tomorrow and you're like, screw you, Rachel, I figured it out. I'm here to tell you that it might all fall apart 14 times before you turn 30. One thing, there's a bunch of stuff I would have told myself, but one thing that I'll tell you right now is that, first of all, as long as all your base needs are met, you're doing whatever you need to do to make sure you have shelter, food, and water, and love, then you are doing okay, right? And by the way, love, I guess, is not a base need, but it is for me because I'm like an emotional vampire. Anyway, there's a pretty common phrase out there that says you are never too late to your own life. One of my editing clients, Jocelyn Davis, she actually just posted in real life, like a week or so ago, a reel about how she didn't get married until her late 30s and have a kid until she was in her early 40s. And her whole thing is like, you're never too late to your own life. And I thought that was really beautiful, and it's totally true. And it's crazy because I've always felt a little bit like you, right? Where I presume, basically I always felt like I wasn't doing enough, or like I should be doing all of these things. Like the word should has been in my mind for way too long, and it was definitely a really strong word in my mind in my early 20s. Whereas if I was sitting across the table from 22-year-old me right now, oof, God, there's so much I would say. But one of the things I would definitely say would be to slow down and figure out how to live life for yourself and not for other people. I would tell myself to be patient. I am a very impatient person, but to be patient with my life, to be curious about the things that I genuinely care about versus what I think I should care about, and to not force my life into a certain direction because of for the perceptions of other people, and to try and figure out what it is I actually want to do. Because guess what? At 22, I thought I had it all figured out, and it all fell apart like 6 months later. And then at 23, I had it all figured out. And then I would say around 28, it all fell apart and I had to start over. And then at 29, I thought I had it all figured out. You see where I'm going? There's never all figuring it out. And I've learned throughout the last 10 years that I was doing a lot of things that I thought I should be doing because of society or because of my family or because of, what I was seeing around me, what my friends were doing. And I was not making a lot of decisions for myself. Now, obviously, if you have a family and you have people that depend on you, you know, it's harder to make these choices. But you're very young, and I'm going to assume, like me, you don't have a family yet of your own besides like the one you were born into. So you have this like wonderful freedom to make all of these wonderful mistakes, the same mistakes that I made. But here's where I wish I had done things a little differently. So I was raised to be pretty judgmental. I was raised in a pretty judgmental family. They're not gonna be happy to hear me say that, but it is true. It has genuinely taken years of therapy to reverse a lot of the like sort of ingrained judgmental ways of thinking that I was raised with. That judgment towards others, which I think I've like fully shedded. I fully shedded like a long time ago, but that judgment towards others shedded way before my internal judgment, which was always running, which made me force myself into relationships that I didn't necessarily want, but thought I should have. Jobs, opportunities, stuff that like, I don't know if I would have done if I was really listening to myself, but was an opportunity for success or for forward movement or for blah, 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 or for ticking off a I've done it check mark, you know, in life. And maybe if I had been a little more patient and slowed down and thought about what I really wanted, I wouldn't have made some of the choices I made in my early 20s. I definitely felt at the time when I was your age, like there was like all these milestones and check like list items that I had to do in my 20s or in, you know, the next year or the next 3 years, or else my life would all fall apart and I wouldn't be set up forever. And I was wrong. I was wrong. But I was in my mid-20s when I realized I made all kinds of mistakes. And in general, I try and live my life without any regrets. Like truly, I don't have many regrets in life. Every choice I made when I was younger taught me something about myself or about life that ultimately made me who I am now. And I wouldn't be this person without those choices that were made. So I don't have any regrets necessarily about things that I made in life, but I have been where you are and I've been feeling those feelings of feeling behind. And I just want to let you know that you're not. And even if you don't figure things out all the way and you're in the same place in 10 years, it'll still be okay. Because, and I want to reiterate because I think it's just so genius, you can never be too late to your own life. And again, I wouldn't change anything because every experience I've had has made me me. But if I could do it all again, I wish I could do it with the it's impossible. This is life. Like you can never live life with the lived experience of your older self. Like I'll always look back, and I'm sure, like I said, in 10 years, I'll look back at myself now and some of the choices I make now will be like, what were you in a rush for? What were you doing? But I look back now and I wouldn't necessarily change anything that I did, but I would just tell myself like, take a deep breath. You don't have to have it all figured out. There is no magical calendar in the sky that's like, you must have this done by this age and you must have this done by this age. And it doesn't matter what your friends around you are doing. It doesn't matter what your family did. This is a different generation and a different time. You should never hold yourself to the same standards of people who lived through your life experience 40 years before you. Okay, that's one big thing. Or 30 years before you or whatever. And two, it doesn't matter what your friends are doing, right? Comparison is always the theft of joy. I'm trying to think of the phrase. The comparison is the theft of joy. To feel true joy, you have to find it internally, and it does not come from comparing yourself to the people on the internet or the people around you that you know in real life. As long as what you are doing brings you internal happiness, it doesn't matter what other people think about it, right? That is a huge thing that I wish I understood when I was your age. This paradox of life, I guess, is like you cannot comprehend how much time you still have left when you're so young. And people start over all the time. Like I quit my career to have kids when I was 29, right? And I'm going to have to start over one day. Like I know that when my kid / hopefully kids go to school, I'm gonna want to go back to work. Or maybe even sooner, I don't know. Like at some point I'm going to want to go back to work, and my career, you know, it will have taken a hit from taking however many years I will have ended up taking off, and I will have to start over in my mid-30s. And I think if you had told me that when I was 22, I would have been like, oh yeah, like I would have not understood it all. I would have thrown up is what I was going to originally say. But now, like, everything has changed. My priorities changed. My life experience has shifted and altered the way I think about the world and what like success really means. Like when I was young, I thought success meant having it all, like having a family and having a successful job and having a big house and blah, 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 blah. But now success is very internal. It's changed a lot for me. Having success to me now means like being loved and loving others, and like that's pretty much it for me. That's something that definitely I did not understand when I was younger. That is like the only thing that could get me to that point was the years I've had to live on this earth. What you think of as being behind in life now is going to be a completely different framework from how you think about life in like 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, probably 15 years, 20 years, right? Like your life and whatever happens to you in the next lifetime that you have will change your perspective of the world so significantly that the thoughts and feelings you have now will feel, I hate to say silly, but they might feel a little silly to like your older self, but that's something that you can't really comprehend, right? And it's like one of those things where it's like, ugh, I wish I could go back and tell my younger self this, but would my younger self really understand? No, because she wouldn't have lived the same life that I lived. So as your like big sister here, let me just tell you, you cannot be too late for your own life. There is no being behind because there is no master timeline that everyone is supposed to follow. And if people in your life, the people around you are making you feel that way, then that is a reflection on their feelings about their own lives and not a reflection of you. I know there are a lot of societal things that make us feel a certain way, but it doesn't really matter, truly. You will change as a person. Your priorities will change as a person. Life will throw things at you that you cannot expect, and that is all okay. I'm just here to tell you that you are not behind because there is no such thing as being behind. And that feeling that you have of being behind is completely normal and completely understandable, but based on nothing. And I guess a big part of what I've been trying to say is that it's so hard for me to explain that because I feel like it's not understandable until you've lived through your own life, if that makes any sense. You say that you're behind on everything, and so I don't really know exactly what you're referring to, if that means like your love life or your work life or whatever, but when I was 15, I was so worried I was never gonna get married. When I was 15, I was very awkward, kind of chubby, like weirdo, nerdy girl. I didn't, I had a lot of friends. I shouldn't say I didn't have a lot of friends, but I was very much like on the like lower end of the social stratum in high school. And I was like, no, I hadn't come out yet. I wasn't exactly sure like what my sexuality was, but that was always fucking with me, but that's neither here nor there. My point was, at the time I had a very heteronormative look on life. And I was like, I'm never gonna find a husband. Nobody's ever gonna love me because I'm so gangly and awkward and weird and nobody loves me now. And as a result of that, I was like intense about like crushing on boys and like being like, I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be wanted because I was so afraid that I was never gonna be loved and wanted, which is crazy. I've had many relationships in my life. And of course I did end up getting married to a man. And so that's great. That's something that I ended up wanting for myself. But I didn't get married until I was 29, okay? So like, I wish that I could have just gone back to my younger self. I know like I'm talking about someone much younger than you, but I even kind of still, I guess by the time I was 21, I had a couple of relationships. I didn't feel that way, but I was worried. I was worried that I wasn't ever going to find the person I loved. And I did with my career. I had a very strong vision of what I wanted for my career. I was going to be a high-powered executive producer. Like I was going to, I had all this plan and I was on that path. And then that shit happened to me in my first attempt at it. And I had to leave and start over very young. I think I started over when I was 23. And I was at 23, I was like, well, this is it. My life is over. I have to move out of the city. I have to start somewhere new. It's going to be impossible, but it wasn't impossible. And I started over and I started from the bottom and I worked my way up and I got to a really strong position in my industry. And then I was 29 and I had just gotten married and my whole life was different. And, I'd had personal things happen to me that had shifted my perspective of what was important. And suddenly I didn't actually give a single fuck if I was a high-powered executive producer. I just wanted to have a family that I loved and that loved me, and I wanted to be very physically present for them. So I just straight up quit. Now I was in a financial position that let me do that, but the logistics aside, my point is all of these feelings and thoughts and concerns and worries I had when I was young, I did a lot of stuff about them, and then now that I'm where I'm at, none of them really matter. So you can't be too behind. You never know when you'll be forced to start over. You never know when you might want to start over, and there is no master calendar in the sky of when you should or should not do things. By the way, I keep saying you're so young, you're so young. I feel personally that I am so young. I am still so young. I still have so much to learn. I'm 32. I can't wait to know what wisdom awaits me in the next decade. I can't wait to know what 42-year-old Rachel is going to say to myself now. Like, I'm sure it's something profound and wonderful and amazing, and I'm sure I can't even predict where my life is going to be then because I just don't know. But I no longer feel beholden to other people's expectations of what like a successful life should be because internally I have found a lot of joy and success. And I wish I could project this feeling onto other people, but it is something you kind of learn for yourself. But hopefully that helps you feel a little bit better and it gives you like a bit of an understanding. Every single person's life is completely different and my life experience has nothing to do with yours necessarily, other than don't feel behind because there is no such thing. All right. That's all I gotta say. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hopefully that helped or resonated with you. Let me know. Did anything I just say make sense? Please let me know down in the comments. I can't wait to hear from you guys as per usual. I've set up some boundaries between myself and the internet, like I said last week, so I don't always respond to comments, but I read every single one, and I appreciate you guys to the depths of my bones. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love you oh so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.